Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. Joe Biden has announced that he's going to run for re-election, but he's got more to worry about than insults from the Orange Man. His approval ratings aren't looking so good, and as usual, it's the economy, stupid. According to a Washington Post poll, more Americans say Trump did a better job of handling the economy than Biden has. 54%, in fact, say that Trump did a better job. And that's not just among Republicans or Democrats alone, but among voters overall. And this is not a Fox News poll, it's a Washington Post ABC poll. Now, of course, it goes without saying that where black people are concerned, neither Trump nor Biden has done a good job of handling the economy at all. But it's the inflation rate spike that's dogging Biden. The white media's reports are that unemployment is low, allegedly, but of course, the unemployment rate is always lowballed by whomever is in the White House at the time. And with the cost of groceries and gas sky high, wages still stagnant, and housing less affordable and less obtainable than a Republican who isn't a racist, it's no wonder people aren't feeling as if Geriatric Joe is doing such a great job. And as for Kamala Harris, she's been laying lower than she did back when she was working for low-down Willie Brown. Now, whenever a president is confronted about the economy, they and their cheerleaders begin spouting minutiae and a bunch of word salad about real wages up among so-and-so group, that they created 100,000 private sector jobs, all these things that nobody has actually seen. They're trying to talk up their alleged accomplishments, either in the hope that things will actually turn around in the real world to the point that people actually start to notice it, or perhaps that people will get bored and go away. Biden and his crew don't seem to understand. The problem isn't that people are merely feeling poorer. The problem is they are poorer. People understand that Biden got handed an economy that was crippled due to the pandemic, but they also understand that he declared the pandemic over. He doesn't get to blame the coronavirus for his economic failings. I won't be bold or reckless enough to say that Biden's ship is necessarily sinking, but he's definitely taking on water. At this rate, things are heading for another upset victory for Trump. Can Biden turn these numbers around? Well, he's got about 18 months to get it figured out, and while the power of incumbency is strong, as Donald Trump found out the hard way, it's not foolproof. It's definitely not recession-proof. The war in Ukraine certainly hasn't helped matters. The only way that quagmire in the making could be of any benefit to Biden is if the Ukrainians' much ballyhooed spring offensive actually materializes and the Ukrainians make some major gains against the Russians. Except they're already behind schedule. It's almost June now, which means the Ukrainian spring offensive will have to be renamed the summer offensive. They've been talking about a spring offensive since at least last fall. Wars can be beneficial to a president, if his side is winning, but the longer this war goes on, the more it's going to resemble Iraq or Afghanistan. Some other countries are already feeling like they taste America's blood in the water. That's why a number of those BRIC countries that have already been making nice with Putin for the last few years are now making noises as if they're seriously thinking about dumping the dollar. Biden didn't quite realize that the international support for sanctions against Russia had been soft from the very beginning. And between France and the BRIC countries, it's becoming clearer why that is. The longer this drags on, the less it looks like a winnable war and the more it looks like a stalemate. Unless Ukraine actually goes on the offensive and then starts making some major gains by year's end, Biden will have to start asking himself if he really wants this war to be a political issue for him in 2024, because Trump certainly would like for it to be. You can bet the Orange Man will definitely be hammering Biden about how Trump would have negotiated a ceasefire by now. And whether the Democrats want to hear it or not, the truth of the matter is the American people really don't feel like sending treasure, much less blood, to go take care of the Ukrainians. If somebody can go ahead and get a ceasefire done, they would much rather prefer that. That's just the reality. So be it the economy or the war in Ukraine, Biden has big vulnerabilities now. And if anyone is hoping that DeSantis is going to be a spoiler in the race, well, he crapped the bed in his presidential debut. When your campaign launch is worse than Kamala Harris's was, that's how you know you're really a screw-up. And if moron DeSantis thinks that having a huge war chest is all he needs to get the presidency, then he learned absolutely nothing from his predecessor, Jeb Bush, who was also governor of Florida, and who also had a hell of a lot more money than Trump, and who got crushed and run out of the race in record time. A lot of Republicans in 2015 had more campaign cash than Trump, but the orange man understood that the nature of the game he was going to play was one that played to his strengths, the wild man on campus. Trump was able to leverage for himself the kind of media attention that his Republican rivals simply couldn't buy. Those establishment Republicans were running against Trump. Meanwhile, Trump was running against the establishment. Politicians raise those hundreds of millions of dollars in campaign cash mostly so that they can do media buys. They want to buy airtime on television, radio ads, and the internet. Money can help you do that, but if the candidate is not charismatic, or if his policies are turning off the American people, or if he's just plain boring, then you quickly get to the point of diminishing returns. And I've noticed that this time around, Trump is being less bellicose. That's not to say that he's a more sanitized racist this time, but it is to say that maybe, just maybe, somebody's told him that he needed to tone down the kind of racist antics that he had been doing before, because that is exactly what galvanized his political opponents at the grassroots. Trump is wanting to appeal to those more educated suburbanite voters that he failed to get last time. So what he's doing is he's being a little bit more careful than he has been in the past. Running strictly to the hardcore maggots will only get him about 40% of the vote tops. He needs more than that, and he seems to recognize that reality, at least for the moment. So if Biden thinks that 2024 is going to be a repeat of 2020, he's wrong. It's like I said after Trump got voted out, Biden and the Democrats only get to pull the Trump is too dangerous to leave an office card one time. Yes, they were able to capitalize on getting a lot of angry black voters to the polls, black voters who couldn't wait to give Trump the middle finger. But again, that's a trick you only get to pull once, because now all those black voters are checking to see what did voting for Biden actually get them. And they're seeing the only thing it got them was some phony praise from Biden, followed by being completely ignored by him. Biden promised a lot of things, a presidential-level police accountability commission, whatever that's supposed to be. He also promised a Lift Every Voice plan, which was just another raft of social programs for any and everyone, instead of the targeted specific money that we actually require. Whatever happened to the George Floyd Policing Act? Biden claimed that the Democrat-controlled Congress that they had for the first 2 years just couldn't get any meaningful legislation for black people passed, though Biden did make sure to personally have his Inspector General go to the Supreme Court to help argue that it shouldn't be mandatory for the cops to issue a Miranda warning anymore. So, as I've chronicled for you on this YouTube channel, Biden has offered black people nothing but talk. And you have the usual Democratic shills online telling us fairy tales about all the stuff that he allegedly did for black people. Almost all of these accomplishments that these shills try to point to were actually just legislative proposals. They never actually became laws. This is the political equivalent of, it's the thought that counts. Well, that's fine by me. In that case, I say let Biden and Harris think about getting the black vote, because they sure won't be getting it if we have anything to say about it. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. ACAB Devil, Red Pill Rev, Morris Bodden, Corey Monroe, and Rahman Muhammad. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.